monitor's not on. The monitor's not on. Good morning. Whoops. Let me try that again. Good morning. Usually it's, we expect the audience to do it louder. Oh well. So welcome to the beloved community known as UU Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle Buhite, the minister of this congregation. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly inclusive and brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. We realize that you have many options for how to spend your Sunday mornings, and we are grateful that you have decided to spend it with us. We send a special warm welcome to those of you joining through the live stream, and also those who will watch this program at a later time on our YouTube channel, UU Amherst. Notice how I did that quick plug. So I need to offer a giant, great big virtual hug and thank you to everybody who made the festival such an amazing event. So yes. And we're going to have some thanks later when the rest of them wake up and go, oh, church again. I thought I did that for 2 days already. So we'll offer some thank yous a little later. So that was just the warm-up act. I want to remind you that nursery care for infants through preschool is available every Sunday in the room that we have now called the Little Middle Room, which if you've been here a while, you know that as you walk up the ramp, there's the big room, and then there's a little middle room, and then there's the living room, which we're starting to call the library because it has so many books. So the little middle room, which is just frankly fun to say, is peopled by Kimberly Martinez, and she is back there ready to help with any families that wander in with kids. And older children are always welcome in the chapel, and we do have activities, quiet activities and things for if they get a little wiggly, and those can be found in the atrium, which is the green and growing space on the way to the little middle room. For those of us gathered in the chapel, I invite you to put your phones on airplane mode, or as we like to call it, worship mode, so that you and all may be fully present and free from distraction. It also helps to free up our bandwidth for our live streaming folks, and so that they don't have any hiccups to their experience. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Our song of intention is found in the Teal hymnal, number 1003. The words will be up front. I've asked my friends Amy and Ellen to help out because we are just going to be wild and crazy and sing in 3 parts. Good morning. So let me come down and be a little bit bossy. I'll bring a hymnal so I don't start you off in something terribly wrong. So the first group is going to be singing sort of the melody, and the first group is going to be like 2/3. Yeah, I see people are like, I'll sing the melody. 2/3 of y'all are here. And then there's going to be part 2, which will be the extra third, and the first third half of this side. So the middle folks, if you are close to the middle aisle, you are part 2, and you will be singing with Amy. And then part 3, we'll be doing the mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. So let's learn all 3 of the parts, okay? So Gregory, if you will just play part 1, and then part 2, and part 3. So part 1, folks, here we go. I'll need a note. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going again? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Excellent. So the middle part, you are doing the long tones. Go ahead and where do we come from? Again. Where do we come from? And part 3, you are all the mysterious ones. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Now all those folks over here, they're like, we have high notes. They're very jealous of you right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to sing it all the way through with group 1 and group 2 and group 3. We'll just lead you in. So group 1 will start, and then when they're ready to do it the second time, group 2 will come in. And when y'all are ready to do it the second time, group 3 will come in. And I will randomly point at people, and we'll do a great job. That's what we do. So Ellen, if you will lead the Group 1E folks. Okay. Play some sort of intro. One of the things that I really love about that song is that it doesn't resolve. There's no like, amen, no chords that say, oh, we're done. That's on purpose. In a moment, I'm going to call Suzanne up because it is our custom when we gather to light a chalice. And the chalice can be a cup or a vessel that symbolizes our gathered community. The flame representing the spark that each one brings to represent the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of our commitment to bring more compassion and justice in the world. This week, I purposely chose, we have a selection of chalices behind the screen. Maybe you didn't know that. So this week, I chose one that is the closest representation we have of the double-ringed chalice that was created when Unitarianism and Universalism merged in 1961. The merging of two circles, and they meet, and they grow out, and they meet, and they grow out, which I think is a beautiful, it's like the where do we come from, never ending. The circle is never ending, and we're not squashed into one. There's room for various understandings of our gathered faith. So Suzanne, if you will come forward, and I will put the words up, and let's share these chalice lighting words. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Each week as we gather and we light the chalice to symbolize that gathered community, we also acknowledge that our church is built on holy ground, ground that was first cultivated and occupied by the Haudenosaunee, and before them, the neutrals. So we will offer a libation. So Suzanne, thank you. It is our giveaway, a symbol of our respect for and deep connection with the land. We are a beloved community. It's a phrase we use quite a bit as we try to describe all of the diversity that is captured in this space. We've chosen to journey together, to encourage one another, and to be part of something important and life-changing. And because we aspire to be such a people, we make bold promises about how we will be with one another. Whether today is your first time or you have made UU Amherst your longtime home, you're invited to share in our sacred promise. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. Our reading this morning is an excerpt from a piece called Orthodoxy. It's Truth and Errors. Truths. That's hard to say. Truths and Errors. Written in 1866 by James Freeman Clarke. He is one of our Unitarian ancestors from the 19th century. And like so many of his time, Clarke is one of the giants, really, of our faith tradition. And I would venture to say that I might be one of very few people in this room who've ever heard of James Freeman Clarke. So my experience originally of Clarke was as I read about the group of women ministers known as the Iowa Sisterhood, for whom Clarke was a meaningful and constant support. As I brushed up my knowledge at my favorite clearinghouse of information, Wikipedia, I was surprised and amazed at the impact Clarke had on the Unitarianism of his day, creating the foundation for the faith we have been called to today. So I want to share with you just a little bit about Clarke, his life and his ministry, because it gives context to his words. He was born in 1810 and was raised by his grandfather, a Unitarian minister in Boston. Grandfather Freeman was minister of King's Chapel, a jewel of a church that to this day retains its Unitarian Christian identity, reciting the Lord's Prayer and regularly partaking in the Lord's Supper, or you may know that as communion or Eucharist. King's Chapel is where Boston's elite of the 19th century gathered for worship. Our James graduated from Harvard College and Harvard Divinity School, which began as a Unitarian seminary. Be sure to tell your relatives that. Upon his ordination, he was the first minister to serve the Unitarian Church in Louisville, Kentucky. Of course, Kentucky then being a slave state. Clarke quickly threw himself into the national movement for the abolition of slavery. It's probably no surprise that his unusual theology was a bit much for that conservative town, and it's said that several women walked out of his first sermon. As he wrote to his friend Margaret Fuller, also a Unitarian of the day, "I am a broken-winged hawk, seeking to fly at the sun, but fluttering in the dust." Oh, James, that's so poignant. In 1839, he returned to Boston, where he and his friends established in 1841 the Church of the Disciples, which brought together a body of people to apply the Christian religion to social problems of the day, 1841. He contributed to countless periodicals. He wrote many, many sermons, speeches. He actually wrote whole hymnals. I feel like I'm slacking here. He published 28 books and over 120 pamphlets during his lifetime. Pamphlets became, pretty much with the advent of the printing press in the 16th century, pamphlets became a way for people of various theologies to sort of spar with one another and to offer their opinions without going into a full book form, just kind of question and answer, or answer and counter-answer. I just skipped over 3 paragraphs about James Freeman Clarke because although I find him so fascinating, I do want to eventually get to the reading. Let me just add that in 1855, Clarke purchased the former site of Brook Farm. How many people have heard of Brook Farm? Thank you. It was a failed utopian attempt. Was that Alcott that tried that? At any rate, it was meant to be this utopian community, and it had humans in it, and so that didn't work so well. So Clark offered that land to President Abraham Lincoln during the American Civil War, and the 2nd Massachusetts Regiment used it for training and named it Camp Andrew. And it was also James Freeman Clark who urged Julia Ward Howe to write the lyrics that would become Battle Hymn of the Republic. All these things. We need to start our own trivia game. So now that you know a little bit about this pillar of the Unitarian side of our family, I will ask you to consider his words. We think it possible to have a church and even a denomination organized not on creed, but on a purpose of working together. Suppose that the condition of membership was the desire and intention of getting good and doing good. Let them sit together, express their desires, confess their faults, say what they have been trying to do, where they have failed, where succeeded, and so encourage each other to run with diligence the race set before them. If we could condense that to like 6 words, then I would think we should just have that emblazoned at the front, but I'm not sure which 6 words those would be. But what an amazing vision for beloved community. So our topic today is how wide is our welcome? I have a lot of feelings around this topic, as well as some pretty strong opinions. But let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. Approximately 95% of current Unitarian Universalists came to this faith from some other tradition or from no tradition at all. We call that being come-inners. So with a show of hands, let's see how many in this room are come-inners. You weren't raised in Unitarianism, Universalism, or Unitarian Universalism. Oh, only a few. For those of you online, basically everybody raised their hands. Almost everybody. Thank you, Sam. You can put your hand down. Otherwise, it'll get tired. Some of us left those other traditions with nothing more than the metaphorical clothes on our backs, while others have brought a bit more baggage. We may have felt like those traditions were simply no longer relevant, or we may have experienced some damage, also called religious trauma. I won't ask you to raise your hands regarding the circumstances of your leave-taking and coming into this faith tradition. Just know that you are seen and validated. I just hope that you're not still stuck there. It makes a difference if you lead from your woundedness or from your wholeness. I think maybe I should repeat that. It makes a difference if you lead from your woundedness or from your wholeness. How can you tell the difference? It has to do with the level of emotion attached to certain ideas or even language. Reactivity that is attached to these other forms can be a sign of leading from woundedness. The good news is that wholeness is possible. The bad news is that it requires us to let go of our woundedness. Because, let's be honest, woundedness can be really validating. Someone done us wrong and we keep poking at that hurt, keeping it fresh. It takes a lot of inner work to let go of that hurt, to relinquish our stories. We need to feel safe enough to engage in the work, to risk a change in our internal status, and to do the heavy lifting of becoming whole. The good news is that you don't have to do it alone. In my description of today's service in the newsletter, I added question marks and exclamation marks to each assertion about Unitarian Universalism. It is a religion that encourages each person's spiritual journey, drawing from world religions. The Bible. What? Individual experiences of wonder. Oh, yes. Exemplars. Who? And science. Phew. I figured that each assertion might garner a gasp of dismay from somebody, and that for some of us, all of these assertions would be dismaying. You may have already noticed that these assertions represent the content of the sources that inform and define Unitarian Universalism. They can be found right alongside the principles just before the first song in the gray hymnal. Do not turn to that now. Our task today is to acquaint ourselves with the complexity of our chosen faith and to make room for the bits that don't necessarily resonate with us. We're going to need some courage and self-compassion to engage with these ideas and to face up to our own areas of woundedness and wholeness. Both possibilities can be equally dismaying and perhaps even scary. Fortunately, you are among friends, and you can feel safe here. So let's prepare ourselves for the task ahead with our meditation in song. Remain seated as we sing from the Teal hymnal again, number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving Each week, we bring our whole selves into this sacred time. We bring our joys, our sorrows, our concerns. The table where we gather is at the center of this space, a symbol for this gathered community, resting in the heart of this space that is made sacred by our presence today. I invite you to come forward and to place a stone or shell on the table labyrinth in recognition of all that you bring and all that you are. May we remember that we are called to heal and bring love to the broken places. Come forward as you will. Today we weave into this sacred time an observance of the Jewish holy day of atonement, Yom Kippur, which begins at sundown today. Observant Jews fast until the following evening as they ask forgiveness for wrongdoings from God and from their fellow human beings. The proper greeting at Yom Kippur is Gemar Hatima Tova. May you be sealed in the book of life. I invite you to join me in a litany of atonement. You can find the full text in the back of the gray hymnal. It's number 637. But your response for each of the elements that I bring up will be, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that we have struck out in anger without just cause, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the need of others, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For the selfishness which sets us apart and alone, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For losing sight of our unity, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. Gemar Chatima Tova. May you be sealed in the book of life. I love to chat with people about their beliefs. I sure hope I run into some folks to talk to today. Why, look, here comes someone now. Oh my, okay. Good morning. What an interesting looking bag you have. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just trying to catch stuff.
Stuff? What are you trying to catch? Butterflies? I don't see anything here.
Well, they're not something you can see, you see. I'm catching beliefs. There are so many interesting ones from religions all over the world, and I want them all.
But doesn't that get confusing? I mean, with so many interesting beliefs, surely some of them contradict each other.
Oh, that doesn't matter. I collect them all. I believe in everything. I'm sorry, I really can't talk now. I need to keep my bag wide open and capture as many beliefs as I can.
Okay, well, that was an unusual conversation. That person has a very open mind. I would find it very confusing to try to hold all those different beliefs in one bag. Well, here comes someone else with a bag. What a coincidence. I wonder what they're doing. Hello, are you having some troubles? You seem to be batting something away.
I've been trying to outrun these beliefs all morning. They keep pestering me. I have had my beliefs nicely secured in this bag. I don't need any more. I'm perfectly happy with the beliefs I've been carrying around for decades.
Wow, decades. How do you know there's not something out there that might be a better fit? Haven't you grown and changed in all those years? Shouldn't your beliefs grow and change too?
That's just crazy talk. Everyone knows that when you get a belief and you hang on to it for the rest of your life, if beliefs can change, then how can they be real beliefs? I mean, what if I find something that I believe more than the ones I've been carrying around? That would be terrible.
Well, those two people couldn't be any more different from each other. One is willing to believe anything that comes along, and the other is afraid to investigate other possibilities. I wonder if there's a happy medium. Oh. Huh. They seem very choosy, don't they?
Why, hello. What a nice surprise to see someone else walking on such a beautiful day. Oh, I think this little beauty will go perfectly in my collection.
What are you collecting?
I'm collecting beliefs. But I'm very particular. I only choose beliefs that are based in love and include acts of justice and compassion.
Beliefs based in love that include acts of justice and compassion? That reminds me of the mission of a church I know of. Is your bag very full?
Well, not as full as you'd think. Sometimes I pick up a belief because it's got pretty petals or a sweet smell, but when I get home, it just doesn't fit. So I have quite a compost pile of beliefs I almost kept. It's a challenge to decide. Occasionally I have to compost an old belief because I found another one that fits much more with the person I'm becoming.
And you're not threatened by that? Having outgrown a belief?
Oh my goodness, no. I don't have the same taste in shoes that I did a decade ago. Why wouldn't my beliefs change as well? I'm growing and changing all the time. I just try to find the balance between bringing in the new and letting go of the beliefs that just don't fit anymore. It's a challenge, but I know I have a lot of support from my faith congregation, and I've learned to trust my deep knowing. As long as something is based in love, compassion, and justice, I'm willing to try it. If it doesn't fit, I let it go. It's a system that works for me.
That's great. Thank you so much for talking with me. I think I need to go home and blow the dust off my own beliefs bag and see if everything still fits. Bye.
Bye.
What an interesting morning I have had. I hope you have as well. Once again, I'm grateful for people who let me put words in their mouths. How wide is our welcome? And who cares? These are the questions I've been asking myself for several years, and they seem even more important and impossible than ever. What is our market share in the religious world? Can we be a religion without being religious? Can we be religious without being a religion? So let's spend just a moment to go back to the very beginning, the actual very beginning. Both Unitarianism and Universalism were early expressions of Christianity, and both said something important about God. That God was one, a unity, not a trinity, and that God was too loving to condemn any part of the creation, including humanity, to eternal punishment. One God, no hell. In the first 300 years after Jesus was crucified, there was no unified Christianity. There were no collected writings known as the New Testament. Whatever scrap a community had, a portion of a gospel, a letter from Paul, a letter from someone else that was a forgery attributed to Paul, or one of the other disciples, whatever they had, that was Christianity for them. That one scrap, that one maybe sentence was powerful enough to be enough, but it was all they had. Unitarians and Universalists lived among other believers. The Marcionites, the Nazarenes, and Ebionites, just to name a few. Each sect had their holy writings and beliefs about Jesus' humanity and divinity. It was not until the Council of Nicaea in 325 of the Common Era that a unified set of Gospels and letters was approved, making anyone who did not adhere to the new orthodoxy, right belief, to be heretics, a designation that was punishable by death. So you may know that the word heretic simply means people who choose. Modern Unitarian Universalists claim that word with some pride, but I wonder if we fully grasp the price our forebears paid for believing what their hearts told them was true. We can't know who we are if we don't know where we came from. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? It has only been since the early 20th century that Unitarianism began to break with Christianity as it embraced humanism. Even at the time of the merger in 1961, Universalists still saw themselves as a liberal form of Christianity. As I mentioned earlier in our introduction of James Freeman Clarke, King's Chapel and some other UU congregations are still deeply connected to our Christian roots, although most American Christians would probably argue that they're not Christian enough. So here we are in the third decade of the 21st century with a Unitarian Universalism that is intentionally pluralistic, embracing multiple ways of understanding that which is of ultimate importance, what some of us call God. It can be a little clunky sometimes, like attending someone else's family reunion or even your own family reunion with relatives that strike us as strange or even problematic. So look around the room. Go ahead, do it. That's not rhetorical. Very nice. In this space, we have atheists, we have secular humanists, religious humanists, agnostics, Buddhists, pagans, Christians, Jews, more that don't have labels. Up until recently, we had a blended family that included Hindus. I know I'm leaving someone out. Unitarian Universalism has been called the United Nations of Religion. I'm not sure how I feel about that. So what's the common thread amongst all this diversity of thought? I believe it can be found in our fourth principle, at the heart of our values statements. We affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. A year or so ago, two friends of mine climbed a portion of Mount Everest. They trained for months to be ready to climb as high as base camp. Maybe that doesn't sound like a big deal, but the two base camps are over 17,000 feet above sea level. To put that in perspective, Denver, Colorado is a little over 5,000 feet above sea level, and airplanes fly at 30,000 feet. Buffalo is 600 feet above sea level. So when I say that my friends trained for months to climb 17,000 feet in brutal conditions, you can understand how the training was not just for their bodies, but for their minds and their spirits. And that trip was transformative for them. I don't think it was just about conquering their fears and pushing their bodies to the limit, although that was surely the case. They went seeking something unnameable, a sense of connection to something unimaginably immense. They went with open hearts, and they were changed. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Affirming and promoting a free and responsible search for truth and meaning can quite often resemble a trip to the all-you-can-eat buffet. Remember those in the time before COVID? Now buffets kind of give me the willies. But I remember the dazzling variety of things to choose from. And I remember parents rolling their eyes and just giving up as their children loaded their plates with cake and cookies and maybe a little blob of mashed potato. Or the vegetarians and vegans picking and choosing and turning to staff to find out just what was in that creamy dressing. Athletes loading up on carbs in the 80s and loading up on protein in the 2010s. Each person free to choose what they liked and pass by whatever they didn't like or were reluctant to try. Unitarian Universalism has been called the all-you-can-eat buffet, spiritual or not buffet, and I'm not sure how I feel about that either. I have a confession. I'm 60 years old, and for as long as I've been able to eat solid food, I have avoided pickled beets. You can always find those slippery red slices at the salad bar, leaking their juice all into your potato salad. Well, last month I was visiting a friend down south, and for dinner, she served pickled beets. Oh no. Now you need to know that I've been doing some internal work on food choices. Over the years, I've been macrobiotic, a vegetarian, for many years a beak-atarian, didn't eat anything that had lips. And for the last 6 months, I've been practicing being an omnivore. And no matter what I eat, I always feel conflicted for one reason or another. So recently, I've moved away from a lot of animal protein, except cheese. There's always room for cheese. But still not really feeling great, physically or spiritually. As I meditated on my relationship with food, I came to the conclusion that I want to be a gratitarian. One who, unless something is detrimental to my health or really, really off the charts awful, I would accept with gratitude what is offered to me. So there, on the table between us, was the jar of pickled beets. I confessed I'd never had them before. It was true. I did not mention that I had an unreasonable aversion to them. My friend laughed her twinkly laugh and dished up several slices onto my plate. We sang grace. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. I cut the first sliced beet into about 100 small pieces, and I tried one of them. It was good. And then I thought, of course, I love pickled eggs, and it's the same juice. I really don't know how these things are made. I'm just going to call it juice. The red stuff that makes the eggs pink as defiles potato salad. What had been the big deal? And then she asked me if I'd like more iced tea. Wait, I don't like iced tea. It's made from twigs and leaves and maybe dirt. But there was my now empty glass just waiting for more tea. I'm not sure I recognize myself anymore. In our pluralistic faith, it is easy to just pick and choose the things we have always chosen, the things we know we like and are not allergic to. And I wonder if maybe, just maybe, we're missing out on some things. How wide is our welcome? We are a faith community, part of a religion known as Unitarian Universalism. Our sources of inspiration include our own experiences of transcending mystery and wonder, words and deeds of prophetic people, let's call them exemplars, who inspire us to create justice, wisdom from world religions, Jewish and Christian teachings that call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves, humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. By the way, happy equinox a day and some ago. So that's a pretty big menu, and we can pick and choose, and we can stretch ourselves becoming gratitarians, grateful for the opportunity to experience new ideas and ways of being in the world, not just for ourselves, for our own curiosity, but because we are diminished without these additional ways of knowing and being. We make ourselves small when we refuse to go beyond the boundaries we have so carefully constructed, individually and as a congregation. We make ourselves small. How wide is our welcome? For me, that is a bigger question than how many doors and windows can we open so people can find us coming in like birds into a warehouse, searching for somewhere to land, some source of nourishment, and finding none, returning to the sky to search elsewhere. I think we need to be changed, transformed, like my friends on Mount Everest. They could have gone alone and experienced something wonderful, but I think the journey was richer for sharing it. I think the experiences were deeper and wider for having someone to talk to who understood firsthand what it felt like to have icy wind plucking at their fingers, who felt the crushing presence of thin air in their lungs, who understood that all of the safety equipment in the world can't make up for a misstep or a moment of inattention. Our intentionally pluralistic faith demands that we widen our welcome, not only for those who will potentially find their way to our congregation, but also for ourselves. What new ways of thinking and being are we willing to engage with? How much are we willing to let ourselves and this congregation be changed by new information and new experiences? How willing are we to trust our companions on the journey toward wholeness, to have others who know firsthand what it is like to feel the icy grip of doubt or despair, who have felt the crushing weight of fear or the exhilarating rush of new discoveries. So I think it's time to bring James Freeman Clarke back into the conversation. We think it possible to have a church and even a denomination organized not on creed, but on a purpose of working together. Suppose that the condition of membership was the desire and intention of getting good and doing good. Let them sit together, express their desires, confess their faults, say what they have been trying to do, where they have failed, where succeeded, and so encourage each other to run with diligence the race set before them. That all sounds pretty darn good to me. You'll notice there is no mention of shared beliefs or creedal tests. Yes, even atheism, humanism, and various spiritual paths, not only Christianity, can have creeds, implicit, if not explicit. We are on a journey, individually and together. And it's okay not to know exactly where we are going, willing to trust that as we trust one another and ourselves, we will eventually get there. I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we sing our response, Woyaya. It is 10:20 in the Teal hymnal. I'm going to tell you that I've invited my friends Amy and Ellen to come and help. We made a recording of this during the COVID lockdown, and it was really funny because we got lost. And so I thought it'd be super fun to sing it together. So the words will be up at the top. It's pretty easy at the beginning, and then it gets a little like, where are we? So don't be afraid. We're all in this together. So Amy and Ellen, if you'll come toward one microphone or another. One could come up here. I've got a name. All right. Yeah. So Gregory, just guide us. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within. And we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. And we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's always fun when we finish before the piano. We will extinguish our chalice for the worship portion of our service, and then I invite you to stay for just a couple of tiny announcements. So, Suzanne. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Although this portion of our service has come to an end, that means our service to the world is just beginning. And so we have ways for you to connect and be part of widening our welcome. So I invite, you, Lori. I'm all done thinking. I was like, I'm so caught up in pickled beets. You can stand on the little step stool there.
Yeah, I know that's a little too high. And I have
falling issue, so
Okay,
we'll
nope.
stay down here. So, welcome everybody today, and I am so pleased at how many of you and how many people from the community came to our Living Green Festival yesterday. It was a shout out to Janine, who's not here today, who was the big leader in organizing the whole festival. A shout out to my co-volunteer coordinator and recruiter and assignment, and thank you to everybody who came and everybody who volunteered. It is very much appreciated, and it was number 2, and we've yet to decide about number 3, and I don't have any numbers from the other great team of raffle baskets and the food, and thank you to Bruce and that whole team, none of whom I see at the moment, who I'm sure we'll hear at some point what kind of proceeds we had from that. So thank you again.
Thank you. So Doug, relatedly, come on up. Oh, you have. Okay, so Doug, on your way up, quick note from Linda Joy. It's a surprise party here.
Yeah, surprise. I just want to say that we still need coffee helpers set up and clean up. So anybody that wants to learn that, it's an easy lift. We need extra pairs of hands who are people waiting for children with open arms that can help just facilitate supervising the quiet activities in the back. And we're also starting some kind of a transportation. Was that you that did that, the sign up for that?
That's an old thing, but yes, we can bring it back.
Oh, it's an old thing that I happened to uncover when everybody moved everything for the Justice Festival. So helping with transportation for people that can't get here, that's going to be something that we can support through what I'm doing with the volunteer spreadsheet. And after coffee or during coffee hour, I'm going to plug in my computer and have the volunteer spreadsheet available for anybody that wants to learn how to use it, how to bookmark it, or to sign up for anything.
Thank you, Linda Joy. Doug, you can be up here or down there, wherever you like. Okay. I'll be your Carol now.
Sort of in the middle, isn't it? I'm not tall, but I'm not that short either. For people who know me, you know that I'm very involved with an organization called Citizens for Regional Transit, and we're trying to improve public transportation in the Buffalo-Niagara region. I was really pleased to hear the announcement about transportation. It's very hard to get here if you don't have a car. You can ride your bike. I do that when it's good weather, but the bus coming out here is very infrequent. In fact, I would take the bus, but it would take me 2 hours each way, because I have to transfer from the 34 to the 48. So anyway, my organization has been working for a long time now to try to make public transportation better, especially for people who have no choice. You know, about a third of the people in the city of Buffalo don't even own cars. And how do they get out here? Well, they come, but it takes them a long, long time. It's very infrequent. So anyway, one of the things you've probably seen some signs around, there's a movement now, an effort to extend the light rail out to Amherst, and also we want to get it out to the airport and the east side. And there's some pushback on that, and you'll see some signs around that say no extending, or no metro, I think they say. And so we've got signs that say, yes, extend metro. So if you would like to help us promote public transportation and express your support for extending the light rail, you may want to get one of these yard signs. I've got a few of them here. I got some more in the car. So just see me after the service and you can get one. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Next week's service will feature guest speaker John Snodgrass. He is a delight. We've had him here quite often. His services are always informative and entertaining. His topic is great snakes. If the snake in Eden wasn't Satan, then who was it? Where else in the Bible do we find other fantastical snake fables, and how do serpents continue to play an important role in some faiths? It's supposed to be my Sunday off, but I might be sneaking around up in the loft because that sounds fascinating. All right, so on your way in, you may have received an order of service. It's a white folded piece of paper. All right, wave them at me. Good, now take them with you when you leave. Don't stuff them behind, huh? Yes, yes. There's a box to recycle. You can just walk right past me as you go out, and there's a basket there. So I would love if you would stop and talk to me, but it's fine. You can hold up your order service so I can't see your face, and you can recycle them. Because it is Yom Kippur, the congregation, the Jewish congregation that is nested in this space, who have been our longtime friends and neighbors, Congregation Havarah, they are having a special service here today. So that's one reason. I always want you to take the pieces of paper with you. But if you are in a row where there are what I call free range hymnals, not ones tucked into like the book spot, but laying on pews or chairs, if you would be so kind as to, at the end of the service, pick up those free rangers, and there's a rolly cart over by the ramp, and you can keep them in their like partners. You don't have to separate teal and gray. It makes it easier to put them back if you keep them together. Okay, that would be a tremendous help and save me a little bit of walking around. I had like, I don't know, 80 kabillion steps yesterday, so I think it was like 9,000. That's 80 kabillion for me. Okay. And as always, see the forward, which is our newsletter, for everything you need to know. And we love to invite you into participation in sort of the nuts and bolts of the ministry of this congregation. You can support us financially with your gift. There's a number to text your gift on the screen. You can go to our website, UU Amherst, and click on the giving link. There's a green basket. How good that it's green, where you can put your contributions on the way out. There are so many ways to give and participate. Because we drink water from wells. No, first of all, we pick fruit from trees we did not plant. We drink water from wells we did not dig, which is exactly as it should be, so long as we dig and plant for those who will come after us. Your generous giving supports the work of this congregation. Please rise and bow to your spirit as we sing our blessing. Travel light and travel easy till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy and now look at each other. Travel light and travel easy till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. Many thanks to Gregory, our service pianist. Thank you for leading us. We do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who travel this way with us, so let us be swift to love and make haste to be kind. Go in peace.